Good morning, you curious cats. Today I'm going to share a little tool, a little trick with you guys that is extremely powerful and useful for shifting our lives around and creating a better life for ourselves. If you knew my personal life story, you would probably find it quite amazing that I've been able to come out on top of all this. I just had one thing after another, extremely traumatic events, both mentally and physical, that took place. And I've been able to come out on top of all that and be thriving even though I went through all these things. And one of the key tools that I used to come out on top of all this was perception. So perception is a very, very powerful tool. It's used by all successful people. And one of the key things to take away from this is that we can't control a lot of the situations that we end up in. A lot of these external things that happen to us, we don't have control over, whether it's a death in a family, a traumatic event, etc. We can't control that. However, the one thing we do have control of is our perception of that which happened. And when our subconscious mind is taking in messages from the external world, there's one thing that we can manipulate in that process between what happens externally and what we perceive internally, and that is our perception. So by tweaking our perception, we're able to shift the messages that we're sending to our subconscious mind. So that is a very powerful tool that we can use. And if you look at your typical North American, they have so much, yet there's very little happiness. Everyone is so busy wanting and needing and wanting more that they fail to see what they do have. Now that is a perception issue, if you ask me. I've traveled to a lot of third world countries and I like to observe them, and what I've noticed is a lot of them are sleeping on dirt floors, and there'll be 3 or 4 of them in this tiny little, something that we would consider a closet, or, half of a standard bedroom size, and the whole family lives in there on a dirt floor, yet they're extremely happy. So that gets me wondering, how is this possible? And it comes down to perception. So perception's been an extremely useful tool in my life, and it's something that we can all use to shift our lives around drastically. And the way that we can do that is when something challenging happens to us, instead of dwelling on the negative, we can look for the positive, as hard as that might be, and we can look for opportunity in a time of crisis, opposed to focusing on the negative and all that which is in our way of achieving what we want to. So this is a very powerful tool, especially in the time we're in, where we're in a bit of a crisis. There's a lot of people that will dwell in on the negative. However, I am choosing to look for the opportunity and the positive in this, and that is a way that we can take something challenging and turn it around to help us better our own lives. So if we look for the lessons in these things and we look for the opportunity, we're opening up our mind to possibilities instead of closing it down and focusing on everything that's in the way, all the excuses why we can't, etc. So if we shift our focus away from that which we can't and open it up to possibilities, it's just a way of bettering ourselves instead of closing down. So a quote that I really enjoy from Robert Kiyosaki, he talked about his rich dad and his poor dad, and his poor dad would always say, "Oh, I can't afford that." And his rich dad would replace that same sentence with, "How can I afford that?" So you can see how those two things, it's a perspective shift, and the one shuts you down to all possibilities and you just basically accept, "Oh, I can't afford that." But the other one opens your mind, and it makes you be innovative and creative, and it says, "How can I afford that?" So if you really want that, instead of just saying, "Oh, I can't afford it," and then you're closed down to all possibility, you say, "How can I afford that?" Now that gets your mind thinking and creative, and you start thinking, well, maybe I could do this, maybe I could start another business, maybe I could have a side hustle, etc. So that's a great thing. And often in these traumatic events, people focus on the post-traumatic stress disorder. And I personally just went through some pretty insanely stressful situations. And PTSD is a real thing. But the one thing that Nassim Taleb talks about that I was very refreshed to hear, I haven't heard anyone speak about this, is the thing that a lot of people aren't talking about is post-traumatic growth. So a lot of people want to focus on the post-traumatic stress and all the negative that's caused from these traumatic events, but there's also a really powerful growth period after these highly traumatic events. So that's something that a lot of people don't talk about, and that's just another example of how changing our perception of these things can be a very powerful tool. And our mind is a very delicate thing. You have to be very careful with your mind and the thoughts that you're allowing in. The default for our mental state is actually to resort to our focus in on the negative. It's kind of the easiest path, or the path of least resistance. However, if you want to master your own mind and become truly a master of your own life and take control, you want to be able to take control of your thoughts, and you want to treat it like a garden. So you want to weed out all the negative thoughts, and you want to water the positive thoughts. So this touches a little bit on kind of like cognitive behavioral therapy, where, you know, there's kind of a 3-step process that I like to talk about, where the first step is just becoming aware of your self-talk and the stuff you're telling yourself. So if you kind of start stepping back and observing your own thoughts, you can start to realize how negative a lot of our self-talk is. And that's the first step, is just observing that. And the second step is to take it one step further, where you observe a negative thought and then you interrupt it, you stop it, you go, wait a minute, you know, this isn't a powerful thought, this is disempowering, this is negative, I'm going to stop it. So that's the second step, and that's very powerful. If you can even just get to that, you're way ahead of the game. And the third step is to, 1, identify the negative thought, 2, stop that negative thought, and 3, replace it with a more positive thought. And if you can learn that 3-step process and practice it daily, it's not easy, I'm not going to lie, it's not an easy thing, but practice it. It's a muscle. You need to train it. You need to get better at it. And as you get better at it, it's a very empowering thing that you can do. And that all comes down to perspective and shifting our perspective on these things, where our initial mind state, our default mind state, will be negative. But if we can identify that, we can stop it, interrupt it, and replace it with a more powerful thought, then we're opening our mind to possibility, to opportunity, and basically growth. So that's just a powerful tool that I've used in my life, and I've also heard a lot of gurus speak on it, and I just think that we should all practice that. I think it's something that, like I said, it's not easy. However, if you can practice it and get better at it, it becomes a very powerful tool that you can use in your own life and help change your life around for the better. So I hope you guys found value in this video. I'm going to leave it at that. I hope you guys all have a wonderful day. It's just another gorgeous sunrise here. I tried to make a video the last 2 days, but it was so windy here, the audio just wasn't great, so I didn't upload it. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoy this video, and please like and share the video. I want to grow an audience here, and I want to create a bit of a community, and I want to be able to bring you guys value and share with you guys some tools that I've found to help better our own lives and help empower us, especially in these trying times that we're faced with. So with that being said, I'm going to leave it at that. And again, please, if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel, share this video with people you think might find value in this. And as always, have a wonderful day, stay curious, and God bless.